Hey, it's Andrew, and today on the show we have Francis Suarez, Mayor of Miami. In this episode, we talked about the mass migration of startups and talent from places like San Francisco, New York to Miami, how Mayor Suarez retains his citizens by treating them as customers, and what his citizen success team looks like. We also discussed how the mayor attracts VCs to the city, how he onboards new citizens for success, Miami's development roadmap, and how Miami is incentivizing tech companies to make the move. As usual, I'm excited to hear what you think of this episode, and if you have any feedback, I would love to hear from you. You can email me directly on andrew@churn.fm. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, and enjoy the episode.
You don't just gun for revenue in the door.
This is Churn.fm, the podcast for subscription economy pros. Each week, we hear how the world's fastest growing companies are tackling churn and using retention to fuel their growth.
How do you build a habit-forming product?
We crossed over that magic threshold to negative churn.
You need to invest in customer success.
It always comes down to retention and engagement.
Completely bootstrapped, profitable, and growing.
Strategies, tactics, and ideas brought together to help your business thrive in the subscription economy. I'm your host, Andrew Michael, and here's today's episode. Morning, Mayor Suarez. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thank you so much, Andrew.
It's great to have you. For the listeners, Francis Suarez is the mayor of Miami, who at the moment as well is on an unbelievable track of mass migration of startups and talents moving from places like San Francisco and New York. They've also just recently announced, SoftBank announced a $100 million fund solely to startups based in Miami or those thinking of moving there. And in 2020, they saw $1.9 billion being poured into startups in the region. And a huge part of this success and this momentum has definitely been Mayor Suarez's involvement and influence. And he was super cool. I just managed to send him a tweet on Twitter and say, hey, I want to chat to you about this concept. And he was really great. Said to jump on board. So thanks a lot for joining today, Mayor.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate the opportunity. It's wonderful to be with you.
It's great. So today, just to set the premise as well, because people might be wondering, like, this is a show about churn and retention. Like, why is Andrew talking to the mayor of Miami? So today, what I really wanted to have a chat to you about is actually something that David Sachs mentioned on Twitter in December sometime as well, where he sort of mentioned that, like, due to the change now where cities used to compete for tax dollars from companies, now more and more with remote and the pandemic has sort of pushed this momentum forward, we're seeing them having to compete for knowledge workers and trying to retain good talent to the city that they're bringing in. And more of them will have to start thinking a little bit more like SaaS businesses, in the sense that the annual recurring revenue will be the annual tax that a individual is paying. So you're looking and focusing on citizen retention as opposed to customer retention, and thinking of things like from a customer success mindset. When somebody leaves your city, like doing exit surveys and asking, why did you leave? How can we improve? How can we retain you? And really start to think about, like, how do you keep the talent there? Because it's no longer about companies, it's more about individuals now. And they're a lot less like forgiving, in the sense that at company it's much more difficult just to pick up and go, whereas an individual can just pack their bags and get on. So setting the premise today, that's what I wanted to chat about. And I'm interested from your side as well. Now, you've done an amazing job in acquiring and bringing all this talent. Like, how are you thinking about retaining it?
I think the first thing is you have to look at your as your residents as customers. I think part of the problem is, and part of the reason why people are losing people and talented people, is because they're not treating them like customers. They're making it seem like those people owe the government something. And when you're, I came from the private sector. My wife is in hospitality. Customer service, and we're a customer-based business. We pick up your garbage. We respond to 911 calls. We have fire and rescue. We create parks and we clean them, and we clean the streets, and we make sure things are safe. It's all about creating a customer experience. It's all about quality of life. And with remote work now, what is going to prevail and what cities are going to grow are the cities that prioritize their clients, their residents, and create the premium quality of life that their residents are looking for. You no longer are tethered to a particular location. You don't have to live anywhere to be able to succeed. And, I can't tell you how many podcasts, probably 80 to 90% of them have been virtual. So, you can get out there, you can have a voice, you can create business opportunities, and you can do it without ever leaving your home. So, and frankly, I'm in my home right now. So it's incredible, the ubiquity and of life right now. And I think those governments that understand that their residents are their customers, they're their clients, that they have to appreciate them, that they can't tax them to death, that they have to, give them good services and keep them safe. Those are the ones that are going to succeed in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is like for myself as well. I was digital nomad for a while as well, for about a year and a half, just traveling around from city to city and sort of trying to understand like where would be a good place to settle. And largely that came down to sort of this, like the facilities of the city and the climate and the people and this sort of thing. So you mentioned a few things. It's really, really interesting now. And obviously one thing definitely is like seeing them as clients, and not to oversimplify, like cities are very complex organisms and you can't really equate like a company to a city. But in terms of like the hospitality side of things, like how do you structuring your team as well, like to start to think more on the service side and providing services to the team? Like what does your team look like?
So we created an office called Venture Miami. We created a position in my office called the Chief Senior Policy Advisor and Head of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And we're building out a team we have a venture capitalist in residence that we're going to announce soon. We have our IT / Chief Innovation Officer as well as part of it. We have the Downtown Development Authority of downtown that lent us a person. And we're going to the philanthropic community and getting the philanthropic community also to be a part of it. So we have a tremendous amount of resources that we're putting together. And all of it is based on how do we continue to grow this ecosystem in this explosive moment. I want to create concierge services for people that are moving here, make sure that we can get everything that they need to be domiciled here and to have their residence. And then, help them with any issue, whether it's from our government or any other government, to make their experience as pleasant as possible.
Yeah, it's really interesting, like the concept of the concierge service. It's very similar to the onboarding experience that most products experience. And I actually read something before the interview that you've set up something in terms of like moving to Miami and helping getting set up where to find schools, this sort of thing. Yep. So you're almost creating this experience in terms of onboarding. So like the first stage, bringing people to make sure, setting them up for success in your city. Right. Another thing. Right. Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Another thing then as well, I think in terms of success that you've really been able to do well for the city is actually bring in investor dollars, attract really good VCs to the region and to the area. Like what has been the recipe behind that? How have you been attracting all these investors to the city?
I think the investors will go where the talent goes, right? I mean, they want to follow the brilliant founders that have been successful with a successful track record. When you have people like Keith Rabois, John Oranger, Peter Thiel, all buying homes here in Miami, all either moving or thinking about moving to Miami. The VC money will come because they're going to create companies, they're going to hire people, and that's going to create a significant amount of offshoots. But in addition to us being a city that provides a premium quality of life, we also want to be an organization that is technological. So we've created something called e-plans when I first got elected, meaning that you can submit your plans electronically. Now we created something called eStart, meaning you can start a business in the city of Miami electronically without ever having to go into a government building. Eventually, we're going to create a virtual city hall so that people can go and get city services without ever having to leave their house. So, I mean, that's sort of where we're heading and making our government as easy to work with as humanly possible.
That's excellent. I think like there's been some good examples in Europe as well with e-governments and things like that, where they've seen great success. So I'm thinking as well, like a little bit, you're talking a little bit like futuristic now in terms of like the way cities are going to be moving. And typically in SaaS business, it's all about building for tomorrow and like building a better tomorrow. Right. So like, what is your plan for the future? What does the roadmap of Miami look like? What is coming up in the works that you're really excited about? You think like this is, we're going to make a place that people aren't going to want to leave.
One of the things that we are doing is we're trying to become the most crypto-friendly city on the planet through our own local laws, potentially paying our employees a % in crypto, allowing people to pay for fees and taxes in crypto, and also potentially investing a portion of our treasury in crypto, but making sure we also have the most crypto-friendly state laws so that there is no advantage to being in Wyoming versus Miami. or Florida. And I think that's something that will continue to attract the crypto community, which is an enormous sub community in the tech community that is very, very awake. They're very plugged in, and they're doing very, very well financially. So it's a community that you want in your city.
Absolutely. And then, so like, this is one thing, working on laws to try and facilitate and enable sort of crypto moving in. In terms of like companies now thinking about maybe making the move to Miami, or individuals wanting to make the move, like, what are some of those other things that you're doing to enable this and to facilitate the movement for them?
We're doing a variety of things. We have incentive programs. I just was communicating with somebody who's processed 3 new companies that are moving. We have an incentive program for small companies. So if you're moving, we give you $50,000 a year for 3 years in the downtown development area. If you're a big company, over $3 million investment or more, and you're creating more than 10 jobs, you can be eligible for 10 years, up to 80% discount on your taxes, your property taxes. So if you're in an opportunity zone, you're not paying any federal taxes if you buy, hold, and sell after 10 years. You're paying 80% less in real estate taxes from Miami-Dade County. You're not paying any state income tax, and you're not paying any local income tax, which is happening in these other cities and states. So there really isn't a reason not to come to Miami.
Absolutely. And then thinking as well, like, what are you thinking in terms of international companies? Is that something on your radar to attract more foreign talent to the region? Obviously, like, Miami is extremely diverse as well, probably like one of the most diverse cities in the US in terms of talent and in terms of the lifestyle. But how are you thinking as well about international expansion? Is this something on the radar, trying to attract some more talent from abroad?
It is absolutely on the radar. We're geo-positioned as a city to have direct flights everywhere in the United States, everywhere in South America, everywhere in Europe, a lot of places in Asia based on technology. Yeah. We're the city that's best geo-positioned to reach more parts of the world directly. So that, I think, also is something that, you can't fake your geography, right? Like, where you are is where you are, and that is a huge benefit for our city.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. So thinking then as well, like, not to advertise Miami too much as well, but I'm thinking, like, a question from my perspective is, like, what would be like the top 3 reasons that you would say that, like, there's no ways that people want to leave Miami for this reason? Like, if me, Andrew, as an individual, I move to Miami tomorrow, like, what's going to keep me there? What's going to, like, make sure that I'm sticking around and I'm not packing my bags and moving somewhere else?
We're the most exciting city in America right now, the most talked about. We have the ability to grow, which a lot of cities don't have, like New York and San Francisco, that have restricted their ability to grow. We have a tremendous ability to grow, and we have the most attractive talent that's coming from the best places in the world. Aside from that, we have all the cultural amenities that you can possibly think of. Sports, art, music. The better question isn't, why should you move to Miami? The better question is, why haven't you already moved to Miami?
Good question. So the other thing then as well I'm interested in is sort of the city's roadmap. So thinking more like from a SaaS business, and I think typically there's a roadmap of features that are coming next, what's being worked on. How is the city managing this roadmap? How is, like, the citizens themselves influencing what's coming next and what's being worked on?
Well, we want to focus on making sure that we're more resilient as we continue to grow. We have, obviously, like every city, every major city in America, we have climatic issues that we're dealing with, we're grappling with. We want to make sure that we're continuing to build affordable housing so that the city remains affordable. And we also want to continue to work on our education system to make sure that we have a premium education system so that every child in our city has an opportunity to be successful.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then the team behind you, like you mentioned, you have 3 or 4 new hires that have joined the team. How are you thinking to expand it now as you go into this role and start to expand the responsibilities of the team? Like, have you got any new roles that you're looking to hire?
Well, we just hired all of those people. But yes, we are hiring probably another 2, which will be support staff for those 4 or 5 that we have. And that's kind of where we're at right now. I mean, we're building out this back office very quickly, and we'll go from there.
Excellent. One question I ask every guest that joins the show, because I see we're running up on time as well, is imagine a hypothetical scenario as well. And in your case, we're going to be talking about citizen retention. Typically, we're talking about customer retention in this case. But
Right.
what's one thing that you know today about citizen retention and retaining citizens within your city that you wish you knew when you got started with your career?
What's one thing that I know today that I wish I knew? I guess I wish I knew exactly what it took from a venture capital critical mass type of perspective. Obviously, I always knew that keeping taxes low would keep your citizens. I always knew that keeping yourself safe would keep your citizens. But the one thing that this moment is different is all this venture capital, all this explosive capital, which allows you to really scale your companies. I think that's the one thing that I wish I would have known earlier. I would have thought of earlier to have been able to attract that earlier if I would have been able to.
Absolutely. And then the last question I have for you as well is like, let's imagine a hypothetical scenario now, totally hypothetical, but you arrive in a new...
You know, politicians don't like hypotheticals, right?
Hypothetical, yeah. So let's imagine like you arrive in a new city, you get made mayor, and like retention of citizens is really, really bad. Like people are just leaving left and right. Like let's imagine now you're the mayor of San Francisco or New York. Like maybe not those two because we don't want to get political. But what would be like where would you start with like trying to analyze and look at the problem to try and curb it, to try and really stop the bleeding of talent?
The first thing I would do is pick up the phone and call the mayor of Miami.
Yeah. Good answer. But really, what would you do?
I would do what we're doing. You know, I would reduce taxes. I would invest in police, which reduces crime. I would deal with the homeless issue, which is a big issue. And I would find a way to diversify our economy so that the jobs that we're creating in our city are the jobs for the next generation of my city.
Yeah, and thinking about the future as well. I think that's one thing like certain places have really fallen behind is not thinking about what's coming next and how do you prepare the city and the jobs and the market for it. But
that's right.
Mayor Suarez, it's been amazing having you on the show today. I really, really appreciate the time and connecting today. Thank you so much again for just answering that random tweet as well. Totally unexpected, but really cool. And it just goes to show like what a cool mayor you are and what a great job you're doing as well locally. Thanks so much for joining.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too. And that's a wrap for the show today with me, Andrew Michael. I really hope you enjoyed it and you're able to pull out something valuable for your business. To keep up to date with Churn.fm and be notified about new episodes, blog posts, and more, subscribe to our mailing list by visiting Churn.fm. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our show on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you have any feedback, good or bad, I would love to hear from you, and you can provide your blunt, direct feedback by sending it to andrew@churn.fm. Lastly, but most importantly, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it and leave a review, as it really helps get the word out and grow the community. Thanks again for listening. See you again next week.